Welcome to the deep dive. You ever get that feeling like you're stuck, like you're capable of way more, but something's holding you back?
Yeah, I think we all feel that from time to time.
Well, we're going to explore that feeling today. We're diving into the work of Harold W. Becker.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, his essays on love and happiness and our creative potential as humans. I think you're really going to like this.
I'm looking forward to it. Becker's work is really about rediscovering that power within each of us.
Exactly. He says we're not just passive passengers, we're active creators.
Creator beings.
I love that. It's like we each have this incredible toolbox full of potential.
Just waiting to be opened.
But how do we even begin to access that? Where do we start?
Well, one of the first things Becker points out is the stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
And each other.
The story.
Yeah. Think about it. How often do you hear phrases like, I'm just not good at that, or things never go my way?
Wow. Yeah, it's like we're just accepting these limitations.
Right.
Without even questioning them.
Without even questioning them.
But if we are creators, shouldn't we be like challenging those stories, pushing back?
Exactly. And that's where Becker's concept of reclaiming our inner wisdom comes in. He believes we've forgotten our true nature. As beings of love and creativity, we've allowed fear and negativity to take center stage. And that's what's holding us back.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here. So those negative stories, they're fueling our fear.
Yeah.
Which then blocks our ability to tap into our creative potential. So how do we break free? How do we break free from that cycle?
Becker suggests a major perspective shift. He urges us to move away from fear.
Okay.
And towards love.
Love.
Yeah, and not just in how we view ourselves, but the world around us. And it's not just about feeling good. It's about recognizing the immense power we have to shape our reality when we're operating from a place of love.
So love is the key.
It is.
To unlocking our creative potential.
It is. And it's not just any kind of love. Becker's talking about universal love.
Universal love.
He describes it as the animating force behind everything. The source of our inspiration, our joy, and yes, our creative energy.
Universal love. It sounds almost mystical. Can you give me an example of what that actually means?
Think about a time you felt deeply connected to nature. Maybe watching a sunset, or listening to the waves crash on the shore. That sense of awe, that feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
That's a taste of universal love.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. But, so many of us are disconnected from nature, from ourselves even. How do we tap into that universal love in our everyday lives?
Well, Becker suggests practices like meditation. Even a few minutes a day of quieting your mind, focusing on your breath. It can help you connect with that inner stillness. And he's a big advocate for spending time in nature, which we already talked about.
It's like hitting the reset button, getting away from the noise and chaos.
Yeah.
To recharge, to remember what truly matters.
Exactly. It's about replenishing ourselves from a source of infinite love and potential. And that brings us to another key point. True happiness.
Oh, okay.
It's an inside job.
So it's not about achieving some external goal or, buying a bunch of stuff.
Not really.
It's about finding that sense of peace and fulfillment from within.
You got it. We may experience challenges, ups and downs in life.
Of course.
But even in those moments, Becker says we can choose to focus on love and find inner peace.
So it's not about denying the negative. Yeah. It's about choosing where we place our focus.
Exactly.
Our energy. It's about recognizing that we have a choice.
We have a choice.
In how we respond to life.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And when we make that conscious choice to align with love, not only do we experience greater happiness, but we also start to move through the world differently. Becker calls this the elegance of love in action.
Elegance. I never really thought about love that way. What does he mean?
He's talking about the grace and ease that come with operating from a place of love. When our actions are rooted in kindness, compassion, understanding, everything just seems to flow.
And I imagine that extends to how we interact with others.
Absolutely.
Creating kind of a ripple effect of positivity.
Absolutely. Imagine a world where everyone approached each other with that kind of love and understanding.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, we've covered a lot already.
Yeah.
But before we move on, can we recap the main points so far?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been talking about how we're all creator beings with incredible potential waiting to be unlocked. However, we often get stuck in negative stories and fear-based thinking, which blocks our ability to access that power. The key, according to Becker, is to shift our perspective towards love.
And not just any love, universal love, this wellspring of creative energy that we can tap into. through practices like meditation, spending time in nature.
Yeah. And by aligning ourselves with this love, we not only unlock our creative potential, but we also find true happiness and start to move through the world with a newfound sense of grace and ease.
That's a pretty powerful takeaway. So how do we actually start putting these ideas into practice? That's what we'll explore next.
One of the first things Becker emphasizes is that love isn't just a feeling, it's an action.
Oh,
it's about how we show up in the world, how we treat ourselves and others.
So it's not enough to just think positive thoughts or have these warm, fuzzy feelings. We actually have to put it into practice.
Precisely.
Okay.
Becker says, it is only when we align with our true nature of love that we embody our personal potential in its highest form. He challenges us to really walk the walk.
Okay.
Not just talk the talk.
So what does that actually look like in our everyday lives? Give me an example of love in action.
Let's say you're having a tough day.
Okay.
And someone cuts you off in traffic.
Ugh, yeah.
Your initial reaction might be anger or frustration. But what if you chose to respond with patience and understanding? What if you considered that they might be rushing to the hospital or dealing with their own stress? That's love in action.
Wow, that's a really good example.
Yeah.
It's about choosing kindness.
Yes.
Compassion even when it's challenging.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be some grand gesture.
Right.
Becker talks about the small everyday acts of love.
Okay.
Like practicing gratitude, offering a genuine compliment, or simply listening attentively to a friend who's going through a hard time.
Those are all things we can do right now.
Yeah.
In this moment. It's empowering to realize that we don't have to wait for some big opportunity to make a difference.
Right. It's about being mindful of our interactions.
Okay.
Being present with the people around us and choosing to act from a place of love.
In every situation.
In every situation, yeah.
And that takes practice, right? I mean,
of course.
We're all human.
Yeah.
We're going to mess up sometimes.
We're going to have moments where we react out of fear or anger instead of love.
Right, exactly.
Of course.
Nobody's perfect.
No one is perfect.
Right.
And Becker isn't suggesting that we need to become some kind of saintly beings.
Right, right.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing when we've fallen out of alignment with love and making a conscious effort to get back on track.
So how do we do that? How do we stay connected to that inner compass of love, especially when life throws us curveballs, inevitably?
Becker provides a few practical tools for this.
Okay.
He's a big advocate for meditation, which helps quiet the mind and reconnect with our inner wisdom. He also talks about the importance of spending time in nature.
I know we touched on this earlier, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
How has meditation impacted your life?
For me, meditation is like hitting the pause button on a constant chatter in my mind.
Yeah.
It allows me to access a deeper sense of peace and clarity. And from that space, I find it's much easier to make choices that are aligned with love.
That makes a lot of sense. What about spending time in nature? How does that help you stay connected?
There's something about being surrounded by trees, fresh air, and the sounds of nature that just calms my nervous system.
Yeah.
And helps me feel more centered.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that I'm part of something much bigger than myself. And that connection fills me with a sense of awe and gratitude, which are both expressions of love.
I love that. It's like nature is this portal to universal love, always there waiting for us to step through. Becker also talks about being mindful of our thoughts and feelings, right?
Yes, he encourages us to become aware of the stories we're telling ourselves.
Okay.
Those inner narratives that often run on autopilot.
Right. Yeah.
Are we focusing on the negative or the positive?
Uh-huh.
Are we dwelling in fear and self-doubt? Or are we embracing hope and possibility?
And just becoming aware of those thoughts is a powerful first step, right? Because once we see them, we can start to challenge them and choose different thoughts that are more aligned with love.
Exactly. It's about consciously shifting our inner dialogue from one of scarcity and limitation to one of abundance and possibility. And as we do this, we start to see a shift in our outer reality as well.
So it's not just about feeling better, it's about actually creating a better reality.
Absolutely. Becker believes that our thoughts are incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
They're literally shaping our experience of the world. When we focus on love, we attract more love into our lives. When we believe in our dreams, we open up possibilities that we never thought possible.
I think that's where the idea of creator beings really comes into play.
Yeah.
We're not just passive recipients of whatever life throws at us. We're actively creating our own reality with every thought, feeling, and action.
Exactly. It's a radical idea, but it's also incredibly empowering. And it's not just happening on an individual level.
Oh, okay.
Becker believes this shift towards love is happening on a collective level as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that.
He sees a growing movement of people all over the world who are waking up to their true nature as beings of love.
Okay.
And choosing to live from a place of compassion and understanding. He calls it a great remembering, a collective awakening to who we truly are.
That gives me chills.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like we're all part of this giant wave of consciousness moving towards a more loving and harmonious way of being.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And Becker is hopeful that this shift will lead to a more peaceful, just, and sustainable world for all.
That's a vision I think a lot of us share. So how do we as individuals contribute to this collective awakening? How do we become part of this wave of love?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the answer is both simple and profound. Choose love.
Choose love.
Choose love in every moment, in every interaction, in every thought, word, and deed.
Choose love. It sounds so easy.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's not always that simple in practice.
You're right.
Yeah.
It takes effort. It takes awareness.
Yeah.
It takes a willingness to challenge our old patterns of thinking and behaving.
Right.
But it's so worth it.
Okay.
Because when we choose love, we not only transform our own lives, we also contribute to a more beautiful and loving world for everyone.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to bring it back to our listener. If someone is feeling inspired by these ideas, what's one small, practical step they can take today to start putting love into action?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think the simplest and most powerful thing anyone can do is to practice gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
How does that connect to love?
When we feel grateful, we're acknowledging the goodness in our lives,
Okay.
the blessings that surround us. We're focusing on what we have rather than what we lack. And that shift in perspective opens our hearts and allows us to experience more love both for ourselves and for others.
Okay, so how do we actually practice gratitude?
It can be as simple as taking a few moments each day to reflect on what you're thankful for.
Okay.
You can write it down in a gratitude journal, share it with a loved one, or simply contemplate it in your mind. The key is to make it a conscious practice, a daily ritual that helps you cultivate a more grateful heart.
That's a great suggestion and something that everyone can do regardless of their circumstances. I think we've covered a lot of ground in this section.
Yeah.
Exploring how to put love into action through everyday choices, mindfulness practices, and cultivating gratitude. We've also touched on the idea that this shift towards love is not just happening on an individual level, but on a collective level as well.
Yeah.
And that's a really exciting and hopeful thought to consider.
It is.
It gives me hope for the future. So what does all of this mean for us as creators? How does this understanding of love and its power impact our ability to create a more fulfilling and meaningful life? That's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive. We've been talking about this incredible power we all have, right, as creators, and how love is the key to unlocking all that potential.
Yeah.
But it's not just about, creating things in the traditional sense, is it?
Right. Becker takes a broader view.
Okay.
He sees our lives themselves as these ongoing acts of creation.
Okay.
Every choice we make, every action we take is contributing to the unfolding tapestry
Wow.
of our individual and collective experience.
So it's like we're constantly creating,
Yeah.
whether we're aware of it or not.
That's it.
Like how we're always breathing,
Yeah.
even if we don't think about it.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
And just as we can learn to breathe more deeply, more intentionally,
Right.
we can also become more conscious creators.
Okay.
We can start to make choices that align with our deepest values and aspirations.
Okay, so if we are creating our reality, why do so many people feel stuck?
That's a great question.
Unhappy? Why isn't everyone just like, living their dream life?
And it goes back to what we were discussing earlier about the stories we tell ourselves.
Okay.
If we're constantly bombarded with messages of fear, scarcity, limitation, those stories can start to shape our beliefs and ultimately our reality.
It's like we're unknowingly creating a reality that reflects those limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
But the good news is we have the power to change the story.
Absolutely.
Right.
We can choose to rewrite the script.
Okay.
To start telling ourselves a different story. One that's filled with love, abundance, and possibility. And as we do that, we'll start to see those changes reflected in our lives and the world around us.
That's where the power of our creative potential really comes in, right? It's not just about manifesting
Yeah.
material possessions or achieving external success.
Right.
It's about creating a life that feels authentic and joyful and meaningful.
Exactly.
You're right.
And that looks different for everyone.
Sure.
For some people, it might involve pursuing a creative passion.
Mm-hmm.
For others, it might be about building deeper connections with loved ones.
Okay.
And for others, it might be about making a difference in their community or the world at large.
The key is to connect with what lights you up.
Yes.
What brings you joy.
Yeah.
What makes you feel alive.
Beautifully put.
Right. And then to use your creative energy
Yeah.
to bring that vision to life.
And remember, we're not alone in this process.
Mm-hmm.
We're all connected.
Okay.
And our individual creations are contributing to a larger collective creation.
It's like we're all weaving this giant tapestry together.
Yeah.
Each thread adding to the richness and beauty of the whole.
I love that image.
Yeah.
And when we choose to weave our threads with love,
Yeah.
compassion, and understanding,
Yeah.
we create a tapestry that's not only beautiful, but also strong and resilient.
But what happens when those threads get tangled or knotted? What happens when we experience conflict dissonance in our lives or the world around us?
That's where forgiveness comes in.
Okay.
Becker sees forgiveness as this crucial element of creating a more loving and harmonious reality.
Forgiveness. That can be a tough one, especially when we've been hurt or wronged by someone.
It can be incredibly challenging,
Yeah.
but it's also incredibly liberating because holding on to anger and resentment
Yeah.
is like holding on to a hot coal.
Oh.
It only burns us in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness allows us to release that negativity
Mm-hmm.
and create space for healing and growth.
So it's not about condoning the other person's actions.
No.
It's about freeing ourselves from the pain and resentment that's holding us back.
You got it. And it's not just about forgiving others.
Right.
It's also about forgiving ourselves.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes.
Of course.
We all have regrets.
Yeah.
Holding on to those past mistakes only keeps us stuck in a cycle of shame and self-doubt.
Forgiveness is like hitting the reset button.
Yeah.
Giving ourselves permission to learn from our mistakes and move forward
Nice.
with love and compassion.
Exactly. And as we practice forgiveness, both towards ourselves and others,
Right.
we create a more peaceful and harmonious inner world, which then ripples out into our external reality.
That brings us back to the idea of love as a force for transformation.
Yeah.
Both individually and collectively.
It's a powerful reminder that we each have a role to play in creating a more loving and compassionate world. And it starts with the choices we make in each and every moment.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the work of Harold W. Becker, what's one final takeaway you hope our listener will carry with them?
I think the most important thing to remember is that love is not a passive sentiment.
Okay.
It's an active force.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we choose,
Okay.
we cultivate,
Yeah.
we express, and we embody. And as we do that, we become powerful agents of change, not just in our own lives, but in the world around us.
That's a beautiful message to end on. So what is one small act of love you can do today? It could be something as simple as offering a kind word to a stranger,
Yeah.
or taking a few moments to appreciate the beauty of nature. Remember, even the smallest actions can create ripples of love that extend far beyond ourselves.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've been inspired to tap into your own creative potential and to embrace love as the guiding force in your life.
And until next time, keep diving deep.